Hello and welcome, friends. I am so happy that you are here. This is exciting. This is Patty Bennett, and I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I am going to show you this amazing trifold card. I'm going to show you how to make it and several tips about coloring and shading and putting these layers together. So I hope that you will enjoy this. I think this is going to be a fun video. If you are looking for the still photos that maybe you want to pin them to your Pinterest board, you can hop over to my blog, pattystamps.com, in case maybe you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. May 16th will be the date that these projects are there, and I will link to this in the description. So if you're looking to purchase these products or you need a catalog, you have questions, you can go to pattystamps.com and find those. So this card, this is two versions of it, features the Cottage Rose bundle from Stampin' Up. So there's a stamp set and matching dies. We're going to look at that, and I'll show you what they do. And then it also features this beautiful Abigail Rose designer paper. It is 12 by 12 in size. I've cut this down so that you can see all 12 patterns fairly closely. You can see that several of them are florals, and then there are some stripes and other smaller patterns. So I think I've used, several. I'm not sure how many, maybe 5 in this card. So we're going to look at that. One thing that you will find in that blog post is this graphic, and it has the dimensions for all of the pieces that go into creating this. So you don't have to stop and write this down or panic or anything. You can just hop over to pattystamps.com and find this and pin this or print this or whatever works for you. So I'll just show you again how this card opens. So there's a front panel that's decorated, then you open it and there's another panel that's decorated, and then here's the inside with space to write your message. So I want to show you what's really fun about this card. When you close this panel, you'll notice that that scalloped contour die in white frames this layer really nicely, and then I've layered that layer exactly on top of it, so you get that same layered effect. And I did get this general idea from my friend Lisa. She made a card, and it actually featured this gumball machine as the front focal point, and it wasn't exactly the same as this. I kind of, how you see an idea and you kind of change it a little bit, but it was really cute. And so I just wanted to point that out because this would give it a completely different look than this kind of a softer floral look. So just as an idea, if you were looking for something else. This version, I actually put a ribbon all the way around, and then you can see that I've tied it up, so the recipient would need to untie that. If you're worried about mailing this and the bulk of a knot or a bow there, then you can simply make it without the ribbon. So either way works. So let's put this together, and then stay tuned because at the end I have some really good coloring tips for this image, the larger image, for these smaller flowers, and then also for this die cut. So I want to show you all of those at the end after I show you how to put this together. I have all the pieces ready here so that we can go through this, hopefully fairly quickly. So the first piece that you'll need is just a basic card size, 5.5 by 8.5. This is crumb cake. Whatever color works for your scheme is great. I've scored it in the middle at 4.25 so that if you were to fold it, you would just have a regular card. But you can see, let's put these next to each other. So you can see though that it has a notch out of the top here. So we would need to take that notch out of here, and that dimension really could be whatever you'd like. There isn't a particular magic dimension, but the way that I have cut my designer paper to layer on here means that you would cut off 2.5 inches. So I simply put this piece in my trimmer and I trimmed down 2.5 inches, and then I trimmed over to here, and that took out this notch. So that's your first step, and then you have this piece that folds this direction. But now we need this flap over here. So I have used a separate piece of cardstock. This is the one that measures 3 by 5.5, and we're scoring over here so that this piece becomes 4 1/4. So you can move it over and score at 4 1/4, and it gives you that flap. And then that is going to be attached right here so that it becomes the right flap. So there you go. That's how the bones of it looks. The basic piece of the card will look like that. So I am going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus and put some adhesive on this flap. And then just, let's see, I think the best way to do it is to line it up this way so that I'm kind of lining up the bottom and the right side. Okay. And then what I found was that this is just a hair too long. So I am going to trim off just a little bit. And I think probably someone could figure out, rather than scoring it at 4 1/4, you probably could just move that over by about 1/8 of an inch. And that way, when you fold up that right flap like this, then the left flap folds without any overlap. So yeah, I just found it easy to just trim off that little bit. So there is the basic shape. If you wanted to put this flap onto the back, you certainly could. I just didn't care for that flap on the back. I didn't like that it just looked a little unfinished. And the great thing is that when you take this piece, and again, don't worry, these dimensions are on that picture that you can find on my blog, and you cover this piece up, that flap really doesn't show. So I thought, okay, this is good. I like this. So I just preferred to have this flap on the inside. And then we put that there. That was a new bottle of glue, and that just smushed out. Did you see that? That was a little too much glue. So I'm just going to hold that there for just a minute and let that sit. Yep, that was a brand new bottle. So that piece is going to go here, but we're not going to put it there yet because I have a tip for you on that. And then I wanted to use this peachy colored pattern here in the paper. So that's why I chose the Calypso Coral for my cardstock piece. And I was going to do both of them in the stripes. And you know how it is so you've got your paper here, and then you're going to add your second piece here, but you flip it over to put adhesive and you think, oh, I love that piece. And so I decided to do my second piece like that. So that's what I'm going to copy. And then these two pieces are what finish off the two flaps. So I'm going to put those on next. Try not to overdo that glue. You don't have to use a liquid adhesive. I just kind of like it because it gives you that opportunity to make sure you're setting your paper down just in the right spot that you would like it to be. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put these two layers together. The fun part about a card like this, when it uses so many different pieces of the designer paper, is that you really get to showcase a lot of the patterns and the colors, and it just is a fun way to make sure that you are using a lot of different patterns. So let's say we used 1, 2, 3, 4 patterns in this paper on this card. And then I am going to do my best to center this piece right in the back. Pretty good. I think that's just about right. Now this piece, I'm going to do my best to set down so that this cute little scallop border is exactly in the right spot. So I'm only going to put glue down here on the bottom half and then set this down, and see, now we have that perfectly centered. And then same thing with this one. So glue on the bottom half and close it up, and just the best that we can center all those pieces together. See? So it's not that hard to layer and get that perfect look. And that's how I decided to do it. So there we just have the basic layers, and you open that one and you open that one. And that is just the basic part of making that card. So now I want to show you a couple of coloring tips. And I think that you'll find these helpful. I do hope so. This is from the Seasonal Labels die. And I put that in there. And let me show you a tip about coloring this really delicate, detailed flower image. So in the Cottage Rose dies, there are several images. So we have this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So these down here at the bottom all cut out a really detailed image. So they will look like this. And since this is really all that you're left with when you go to stick it on to your project, instead of trying to get glue or adhesive on the back, I elected to use my adhesive sheet on the back of this white cardstock first, and then I colored them. And then when you peel that adhesive off the back, you basically just have a really delicate sticker, and it makes it really easy to apply it onto your project. So I took my Stampin' Blend markers. You can do whatever colors you'd like. This is light Calypso Coral. And I did the flower portion in Calypso Coral. And those extra pieces are going to come out when you pull that adhesive off the back. And then this is Granny Apple Green, just to kind of give this image just kind of some brightness. And then that's what you would have when all those little parts come out. And when you peel off the backing and stick it there, then you have this great, delicate, detailed, beautiful image. And that'd even be pretty too. I could kind of overlap two of them. So that's one coloring tip for you with the detailed image. And then let's talk about these two on the front, because I have a couple of tips for you on this one. So let's talk about this larger image first. And it die cuts out with that. All right, so I had stamped here on my, this is just basic white cardstock. And I thought the easiest way to color it would be with my blending brushes and some ink. It's just going to be really quick. So I used Calypso Coral and Pale Papaya to do that. But my thought was, if I take my brush and I start swirling the ink, it's going to get over here where the green leaves are, and I didn't want my color to be over there where the green leaves are. So I decided to try out the new masking paper from Stampin' Up. It comes in a pack of 12 sheets. They're 5 by 7. And I learned this great tip that it fits perfectly in an empty case. Did you know you can buy these cases from Stampin' Up? So if you'd like to store it in there, you can. I thought that was a great tip. So I stamped onto the masking paper, and I used my paper snips to cut around the flower because I wanted to use this piece over here to cover up the leaves. So you can use this over and over. I've used it several times, and you can use these pieces of masking paper over and over. Okay, I'm going to stick that down on top of the leaves, and then I'm swirling my blending brush in pale papaya to color as best I can here. I don't want to get it right on that edge. I'm trying to leave a little bit lighter up at the top. So I'm kind of going about 2/3 of the way up, trying anyway. So there we have a little base layer of pale papaya, and then with Calypso Coral, which is going to be much darker. See, you always want to test it before you go right to your project. I'm going from the center and then down towards the bottom so that I get kind of that really pretty two-tone of color. Now when I peel this masking paper off, oh, I didn't get it right to the edge. I can fix that later. I should have moved it over just a little bit. But you can see that it did not get onto the leaves. And a little tip for you, I wanted to store it with my stamp set, but I noticed that if you just try to stick it onto the plastic, it doesn't really stick. So I just taped a piece of basic white cardstock in there, and it sticks to that. So that's a little tip. You can use that over and over. And then I used my Stampin' Blends, and I put some dark Granny Apple Green just sort of in the center of the leaves. And then I used my light Granny Apple Green to kind of blend that and give the leaves a little bit of a two-tone look there. You could spend more time, you could do a really detailed job of blending, but I think this worked great. So I would do that to all of the leaves there. And then I just colored those little, I'm not sure what that little flower is. It's just some kind of a little filler. And I just used papaya and coral, and I colored those in. And then let's see, this is number 600 in the natural tones. And you can just sort of give a little bit of detail to the stems as well as here to the stems. Just a little bit like that. And then when you use this die, here we go, and you cut that out, then you have this beautiful image to add to the front of your card. Now, let me show you a tip for this smaller flower. So in the set of dies, that leaf will cut out this leaf. I just showed you this one cuts out that big one. We talked about the detailed ones. So the die that we have left is this. And it does cut out this flower, but you'll notice that it also cuts out a lot of other parts. See, it'll cut out this huge image. Now this actually coordinates with the designer paper, which I'm going to show you in another video with another project. But I just wanted to show you, if you're like me and you'd stamp a whole sheet of flowers and color them, and then you want to die cut them, and so then you lay this on here to die cut that image, which it cuts, but look, it's going to cut into that next flower. And I didn't realize that when I stamped this page. And then you can see right here, I had stamped and colored one and then it die cut into here. So my suggestion would be that you take a long skinny piece of cardstock and stamp your flowers about an inch apart. You need to leave about an inch in between, and then you can die cut them with just this portion right here, and it won't cut into the next flower. Or you can do what I did with this one, take your paper snips, just cut in there and trim around the flower. Either way will work, but I thought it was important to show you that tip so that it allows you to die cut this image if you want to, or you can cut it with your paper snips. So that's it. And that is this really fun fold that will work with so many different sets or bundles, and all those pieces that you need. Die cutting tips, coloring tips. I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, I should show you the ribbon. Forgot to show you that. It's called Petal Pink Soft Polyester Ribbon, and that's what I used to tie around there. Just to kind of tie in, I used some Petal Pink ink on some of the flowers and just tie in those soft pinks and papaya and coral colors on there. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please stop over to my blog, pattystamps.com, if you need any of these supplies, or if you need a catalog, or if you have questions, and I would be happy to help. Thanks. Bye.